This just came, we got pushed right. I mean, there was a gust of about somewhere between 60 and 70. There is a little bit of a kink in the radar data to my left. Take it easy right here. Take it slow. But you can see the visibility goes down to near zero in that first gust with those heavy downpours, those rain shields moving in. This is actually more on the inside of that outflow. Very strong winds right now. You can see it, of course, across the roadway. And now that is pushing east of me, and it is tossing the car around pretty easily out here. So this is, again, why we tell people that this is the type of condition. I mean, Jake is trained, knows what he's doing, our driver here today, but we don't want folks out driving too fast in these types of conditions. Better to let this pass than be out on the roads here today. But we're going to stay along with this cell. It's got nothing vitally important in terms of rotation with it, but it kicks up quickly as it continues to move eastbound. This is headed through Monroe County into St. Clair County right now.
All right, thank you, Lance. Like I said, keep safe out there right now. As we're looking at Scotty as well, and you can kind of pinpoint exactly where he was. We'll go back and forth. Like I said, we've still got that area where right out ahead of where Lance is. That's where it's still ripe for development at this point, where we look, it doesn't matter what camera we look at, it seems like. There's still some pretty good winds, even our current wind speeds and gusts around 50 miles an hour. We look at this from a standpoint of here's where the all clear is and we have that northwest wind, but here's where the significance is out ahead of it, and here in St. Clair County and some of these other areas in Monroe County as well. This wide area is where we have seen the responsibility for some of these wind gusts in excess of 60 miles an hour. And to be honest with you, from Hamill all the way up to Staunton, right around 55, this is a spot I know that had a big problem earlier with that knocked down a semi, and you're looking at 533 lightning strikes within the last few minutes, and that's what Lance has essentially been driving in some regard, where all of a sudden, if you're not paying attention to the weather and not staying weather aware and following along, you can run into those wind gusts in excess of 60 miles an hour, and that's why we have multiple severe thunderstorm warnings out ahead of this as well as we continue to focus on areas to the south. Now, in terms of the velocity product, I want to pull up to the north where you're seeing more of that wind here from Wood River to Choteau, all the way up from north of Edwardsville, right along 55 near Hamill. This is where we have the most significant wind, and that's where the burst of wind was the most significant earlier. So right now, as we look at the potential for that significant wind, that's kind of what we're dealing with here throughout the areas. We have multiple severe thunderstorm warnings that are with wind gusts in excess of 70 miles an hour. And, you know, and Scott, to me, that's where it looks like we're starting to transition to, as I don't see any clear-cut areas of rotation, while it doesn't mean that that won't be the case. As we have seen, as Lance alluded to, some of these little areas of, you know, these little notches, they look really, even this one here near Collinsville and 55 in Troy, that doesn't mean that won't happen, because as I mentioned, right, it's still very warm here, all things considered, but where it's been raining and near Millstadt, and it's pretty significant, I'll tell you what, that's a lot of lightning. I mean, you go from 160 to even go to the north and look how strong this storm is here. Look how quickly the lightning strikes go up, right? That's where all the hail, the wind is, and you got 500 lightning strikes. That's where the wind damage and power outages seem to be transitioning to, even in spots that it rained. I know it rained very hard and was very windy this morning, still running into the same problem at 735.
Yeah, and we don't at this point have a lot of power outages being reported northeast of St. Louis, at least not yet. But it took a few minutes for them to come in from St. Louis County, and now we're up over 15,000 customers in St. Louis County without power. So we probably will jump a little more, and I think we'll start to see, as you see these brighter colors here into Madison County, that's where some of the stronger winds are, not necessarily tornadic, but now pushing over towards Alhambra and pushing over into Bond County, still existing here across a good chunk of Montgomery County and starting to nudge into Bond as well as Fayette County. We still have the tornado warning here across portions of northern Fayette County right now. And while we can't rule out, a tornado because of that circulation here that's now east of Ramsey, I think our greatest threat in general for all of us at this point is going to end up being more of this widespread areas of heavier rain with the embedded 60 to 70 mile per hour plus winds. So we are getting some reports of damage. We're getting reports of tree branches down. There's a fair number of that, maybe some building damage up in North County. We were still working on getting confirmation on that. We did have a 70 estimated gusts to 70 miles per hour over in Hamel, Illinois. Sitting over there in the Love's parking lot. So that's where you're looking at. You know, you get over here, you're really finding those stronger winds. This is the core of what came through and developed in St. Charles County and moved into north and central portions of St. Louis County, and then moved across far northern parts of St. Louis City, and now over into Madison County and farther to the east. Now, there's still gusty winds here. These are not quite as intense across St. Clair County, down into portions of Monroe County, but we're still talking about winds here in excess of 60 miles per hour. And if there's any hail embedded in those thunderstorms as well, then you're whipping that around, and that becomes another concern. So just looking at the storms, there's nothing that indicates there's a tornado here. We do have severe thunderstorm warnings with a tornado possible tag on all of them that are out there right now. And the newest one was this last one that was just issued here across portions of Crawford and Washington County, as well as Monroe County, Illinois. So still down to the south, you got another cell that's down here heading towards Codaway, back towards into the east of Cook Station, just north of Viburnum. That's probably going to produce some wind. We have to watch this one because it's essentially down here in an area that hasn't been contaminated by other thunderstorms from earlier in the morning and through the course of the day today, because we've had round after round after round. We still have about over 15,000 customers in St. Louis County without power. I'm looking on the Illinois side to get you updated there. And still Calhoun County has a fair number percentage-wise out, but nobody else is really reporting a substantial number out from these storms, although one would think that the winds were pretty intense earlier with those storms, and still are here as we're going east of 55 across a good chunk of Madison County and then into Bond County and into Montgomery County. The good news that we have for you right now, and let's talk good news. Granted, there's still a lot of water problems here, and we have flash flood warnings across our northern tier of counties where repeated rounds of torrential rain have occurred today. But the good news is, once this line goes through, you're pretty much done with the threat of severe weather. Now, there's another little cell trying to bubble up over the Chesterfield Valley right now, but we're getting close for the metro area to be over and done with this. And honestly, Gary, I think we're getting by, I really think we're getting by in a much better way than what we were anticipating based on everything that we've been looking at the last couple of days. And, you know, very rarely do we get a level 4 risk for severe weather here. And that's where we've been today. And while we've had our share of severe weather and we've had our share of problems across the region, and we still are dealing with the winds and, you know, the potential that we could still see a spin-up tornado, we have not seen those long-track tornadoes develop here. And if anything, there may be some weakening signs showing up here in the radar off to the east of St. Louis as we're now getting past peak heating. We are now getting to the point where, you know, the atmosphere is starting to settle just a little bit. And so, you know, we're hopeful that we're making progress here and that we're going to see things improve pretty rapidly this evening. I think the worst of the wind, based on what I can tell, trying to gather everything, St. Louis County is up to about 24,000 customers without power now. And I think that's going to be concentrated in North St. Louis County, especially central and northern St. Louis County, from those winds. We've got Lance Blocker out. We've got Tracy Hinson out. We have all of our people out and tracking what's been going on. And so we have a lot of We have a lot of what we're thinking is going to be wind damage to come in from northern portions and central portions of St. Louis County. If you have pictures to share and if it's safe to do so, and if you have the means to do so, you may not have power at this point because we've got a lot of people without power, but you can send us those pictures. You can text them to 314-425-5355. Here is your line of thunderstorms. Severe thunderstorm warnings all along this line. Tornado warning right now. That is in effect for northern portions at this point of Fayette County. That circulation will be off to the east of Ramsey, Illinois. A lot of wind all along this line. And we're looking at 50, 60, maybe 70 mile per hour winds. I'm going to guess because we're up to about 24,000 customers without power now in St. Louis County. The radar was showing us 70 to 80 mile per hour winds. So I got to believe that we at least had 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. We did see a report from over in Illinois, over in Hamel, of a 70 mile per hour wind gust. And the National Weather Service has sounded the tornado, or the emergency managers in some cases have sounded the tornado sirens, even though some areas don't have those tornado warnings. That would be for Troy and St. Jacob, Illinois. That was a few minutes ago, simply because of the potential of destructive winds ongoing with these storms right now. When we look at the wind velocity out of this, just the straight on winds, what stands out are those really bright areas. They're not as bright down towards Waterloo, heading towards New Athens, as they are up here, going across eastern portions of Madison County and into northern Bond County. Those winds right there are incredibly strong. And so a lot of that is reaching the ground, at least with 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. We could expect power outages to increase there. St. Clair County, Illinois Emergency Management reporting a tree into a house in the Belleville area. So we know the strong winds have been in that area. You see the surge. You see a pretty tight gradient there. So that surge coming through Belleville, tree down. The areas that had wind or had a lot of rain earlier this morning, now that you have a wet ground, especially with the area of wind that's now pushing, on the northern part of this line, this area has also had a lot of rain earlier today. That ground's saturated, so it doesn't take as much wind to cause the trees to literally uproot and fall over, in addition to the potential of having some of those trees actually lose some of their branches. So that's where we are right now. We're going to do one more check here before I send it back to you, Gary, just on the power outages, just to see if I got an update from St. Louis County, because those numbers are pretty dramatic, and I want to make sure that we aren't missing anything. 24,000 customers in St. Louis County. I still don't see much of an update from our Illinois counties as of yet. Madison County has about 300. That's not out of the normal, really, for most of us.